everybody. Paul,
Hey, mate.
alcoholic. How you doing?
Yeah, good.
Does anybody have a topic they want to talk about today?
If you want to raise your hand in the participants column, you can. If there's a topic you want to talk about.
Concerning recovery, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Anyone at all? Any topic you want to talk about? Any steps that you're doing at the moment that you might be stuck on or that you're revisiting?
I would love to ask a question. I forget how to raise my hand. I figured that out in a minute. And I'm not sure it's 12-step related, but I'm certainly in the 12-step program.
Well, let's ask it and see what Paul thinks. And
okay. Paul, I was curious. I'm doing a 90 and 90, which in the 12-step program, we're familiar with that concept, obviously. And it's 90 Heddermans in 90 days. So the days that I don't see you, I mean, your website is fantastic, by the way. And I'm really grateful to all of you. Anybody who assisted in putting that together. It's a game changer for low tech people like me. And I've been able to share it with others, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, I'm curious, Paul, how I don't see, but you come from a place of a very clear awareness. How do you see others? When you look at other action figures, how do they appear to you? Like if I'm talking to somebody, it's almost like my ego's talking to their ego, and I want them to think something about me, or I want to get something across to them, or I see them from selfing to selfing. How do you see us, or how do you see others? I'm just curious what your view is. Sorry, it's a bit out there, but I'm just curious how you look at that.
I don't know. I don't have any rote way of seeing people. I don't know.
It's not entirely, that's not really a 12-step question.
It's not. I could think it for a non-duality.
You get a sense of the overriding context of this event. Yeah, I would say that's sort of like what AA would imply as a spiritual awakening. So you come out of the little encased cocoon of selfing, and you get a sense of largeness, yeah? And so when people appear with a bigger, and the backdrop is bigger than the person, then you see the people differently, yeah? So, yeah, but I don't know. I don't, see, what was normal was I tried to get out of what was normal for a long time. And now I've realized I'm not that's trying to get out of the normal. And it allows me to be quite normal, so to speak. I don't know.
Okay.
But, and the 90-90 of Paul Hedderman, make sure you have Paul Hedderman. Little idea isn't replacing recovery or the 12 steps. It's attempting to bring a new understanding of it, not from the steps or the program, but from the exact nature of the wrong. So if you can see the disease, if you want to call it that, or alcoholism, or the underlying condition of obsession with self as an activity that's not yours, it's an activity that's just not yours. By seeing it as foreign or as something else, there's a freedom that's not available if you keep being identified as it. There is, because it's a freedom from the bondage of self, and the bondage of self is an activity. Yeah, there is no bondage of self. There's no self to be bonded to. It's a bondage of self. So when we're completely, let's say, adhered to the mental system of self-centeredness, we seem to have forgotten our original condition, which is prior to all the mental narration and the assumptions. We haven't forgotten it, but we seem to have forgotten it. It's appearing to us that we have forgotten it, and what we want to dispel is this appearance, or how that appearance gets reinforced and galvanized as a seeming forgetting of what we are by being in the act of being identified as what we're not. That's really the whole point of these talks. It's not trying to change the program, it's attempting to bring a new view to the program. Because a lot of people, without knowing it, are in the act of being identified as self. They're taking themselves to be the thinker, the feeler, the doer, the haver, the seer, the taster, the toucher. And all of these qualities of being the one are manufactured. It's not true. And there's a lot of relief from it when you see it's not true. And that this is what I wanted to see. This fact was before the program. I wasn't that which I was taking myself to be. I went into recovery. I started to get relief from the bondage of self, but basically there was still the claiming of the relief to imply there was a self. So it was a better form of self trying to get out of self than drug addiction, let's say, or drinking. It was a better form of that, but basically there's no escape from that imaginary condition. So after a few years of being in sobriety, I could see there were certain manufactured limiting ideas that constantly were cropping the larger picture. Yeah, I could just feel it. Yeah, and then it became obvious, and I don't know how it happened, but I know it happened. It became obvious that there was an underlying condition before the addiction and before the alcoholism, which was a mental addiction to its own making, this idea of being Paul. Now, it wasn't me. I'm more like the audience. So there was a mental state obsessed with this idea of being a self. And then that self would want to get out of the mental state. And it was apt to try to do anything to escape that which it thought it was in. But the fact it was it wasn't in it. And the escapes from it were reinforcing the in. This was the dilemma. And it explained it to me in a flash that I really felt, in my own way, I got the statement, self can't get out of self. I just saw it so perfectly clear. And from that point on, as soon as I saw self as something other than me, the possibility of being free from it became available. Yeah, not sought after, not attempted to be achieved, but a ready availability, because I'm not that, you see. So I was trying to be free as that, from that. It never works. So this idea just sort of straightened out the underlying causes and conditions that the program was trying to work and change, so that I could live daily without the influence of alcoholism or obsession with self. Yeah, like to the point where the problem doesn't exist for you. Well, I found that becomes a stabilized condition if you see that the problem doesn't exist as you. In other words, you see the problem is not of you. Yeah, you are not the problem. This is the beautiful thing. Now, in the process of recovery, we need to take responsibility and look as if we are the problem, but it doesn't stabilize there. It moves to another wave of recovery, which is, and I'm not that. Yeah, you first finally take responsibility for your role in things. You try and finally take responsibility for being an asshole or selfish or this and that. You let all of those things you've been trying to avoid and delay from land, and then it leads to another point where you see you're not that. So then that taking responsibility turns into I'm accountable for what that did through me, but I did not do that. And this is where the real relief comes to me in my experience of recovery. And I don't feel like we have a systemic, formalized description of the next wave of recovery. I feel like we get to the point of, all right, I see my role in things, and then we keep looking at everything from that. Oh, my role in thing, my role in thing, my role in thing. When does it lead to realizing it's not your role? There's a foreign pathogen. There's something that's living with you, as you. And it's of a mental condition. It's not of a spiritual condition. I would say we are of spirit, but what is living through us is of mental. Yeah? And so we're in a weird, humble, unorganized way. We're attempting to just point, yet there's further. Recovery progresses past the point of being totally responsible for every freaking thing. You now see what was doing through you what you never would have done by yourself. You see it. Just like you call the higher power doing shit for you what you could never do for yourself, you see something was doing through you what you never would have done yourself. You see it, yeah? And you start recognizing the pattern of the defeat that self lays on us by being identified as it. You see it, yeah? And I bet you a lot of squares, I hope, have started to see it here. And they've gotten relief that is not of the same kind of relief as which was before. It's a different kind of relief that doesn't demand vigilance. It doesn't demand more work. It doesn't demand a lot at all. Yeah? Because it's of your own nature. The relief that some of us are experiencing isn't done through effort and thought. It's of our own nature. It's of spirit. So we're being relieved of the mental condition by our recognition that we're not a mental condition. So you could say we're getting relieved from the mental as the spiritual, yeah, or as the spirit. It's a different kind of relief than the one I got relief in the beginning, yeah? My relief was basically based on what wasn't happening anymore, like getting arrested, fucking beat up by the cops, overdosing, being dumped somewhere, having no money and all this. I started getting relief from all of those circumstances. This is a different kind of relief, yeah? It's a relief inherent of our own nature, which means it's always available at all times, right where we are, with no requirement necessary to meet it or to do it or to get it, and then to be vigilant about losing it. It's not like that. This relief is of our own nature. In other words, in a way, we're giving our relief to ourselves, finally. Yeah? So, and I don't know how I see people. I don't know. I don't even, that all those going over everything that seemed so important at one point, I have no interest in. Yeah, that's an effect of relief. I'm not watching myself I don't feel like I'm a security guard and then like a sociopath. So these two roles are happening at the same time. I feel I've been relieved of that little dynamic, yeah? So I don't know how I feel most of the time. I don't care really, unless it's terrible. And just awake to being awake, finally. Finally having that as the basis of my day that can't be disturbed by whatever happens. Whatever happens, it doesn't change the fact of my nature. It can't. Yeah. It has the ability to affect my mental conditions, my emotional conditions, my physical conditions, my external circumstances, but it can't affect me. That's the great reliability of this message. Yeah. I am that which I was looking for. I am right where the reliability is. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. So, yeah.
Thanks very much. Cheers, Paul. So, yeah, any more hands there? If you've got a question, can you raise your hand there, or else I'm going to have to ask a question. Oh, no, Beatrice. There you go. Mike, do you want to unmute Beatrice?
Hey, David, let me say one more thing, all right?
Go for it, man.
Every time we're sharing, we're not changing the steps or anything. We're looking through the lens of the steps in a different way. That's all. We're trying to see that what we're being relieved from is not of us. Yeah? That's the beauty of it. If it is of us, then we're going to live in a fear that it's going to overwhelm us. Yeah? If it's not of us, you'll really have a strong experience. The problem doesn't exist for you day by day. And having a huge history of it being completely existing as you for all those years, it's a fucking damn good solution. Yeah? It gives you all the opportunity to come to things like this and to sit in little rooms and speak about stuff that you used to live under the tyranny of. Yeah? This is the relief that we have already is unbelievable. It's unbelievable what we have all been relieved of. Yeah. Remember when you were out there, my relief was based on if I could get drugs. And getting drugs was based on if the person who had the drugs was available, and also if I had any money. If I didn't have any money, I'd have to try to convince someone else who had money, yeah, to help me buy the drugs. And maybe the guy that I buy the drugs from doesn't answer his phone, doesn't work up. My whole condition was incredibly precarious all fucking day. It was dependent on so many other circumstances. I was a wreck. Yeah? Because one little bit of one chain could be loose and I wouldn't get what I wanted. Day after fucking day after fucking day. And when I got what I wanted, I couldn't enjoy it because it demanded more. So I was just enslaved every day. I woke up in a mental fucking condition that demanded me to do shit against a lot of odds and obstacles. Yeah? It's hard to get $50 worth of Coke every day when you don't have any money. It's difficult. Yeah? You've bullshitted so many people, they're not going to give you any more money. You've hit your family, you did this, you did that, so now you're going to a bar hoping you can convince some unsuspecting person, oh, let's further the party. Do you have any money? Shit like that. What a fucking insane way to go every day. Yeah. Jesus Christ. I used to love the ocean when I was young. I never even went to the ocean for years. For fucking years. Yeah. I never even looked outside a window. There'd be blankets or curtains drawn all fucking day. I didn't know what time it was. All I knew is there's something I had to get. And most of the time I didn't have it. Yeah? Look at what we've been relieved of. It's unbelievable. Why can't we follow that to the root? Why can't we follow... It's, you know, people, they have these God moments. They have these God moments they never forget. It's part of their rest of their life. We have thousands of moments about the previous God, you know? Self, you want to call it. We have thousands of moments of the exquisite, incomprehensible, demoralized states it would bring us to. How can't we recognize it's not us? I can't believe it, really. Yeah. It's talking to us just like when it talked to us when we were out there, but now it's talking to us about our program. It's insane. It's just incredible to me. So this solution is based on the activity of the problem. We're not changing steps, nor did anyone say that, but I'm just saying it. We're not changing anything. The program is beautiful. It's a beautiful program. You can see it in a lot of different ways. Yeah? It's really worked from seeing the root of the problem is a mental activity called selfing. And I'm not of that. That has improved the program greatly for me. And all that I'm doing, hopefully here, is sharing that. That's basically what we're trying to get over. Yeah? Thanks, Dave.